and welcome to this episode of Collab with Kiva. I am your host, Kiva Slade. Okay, guys, we're going to continue some of last week's conversation around not only clear communication, but also effective delegation. This podcast is truly about that. And you know, sometimes with me, it's stuff that I see and I'm working with my clients. And it's also things that I'm going through personally. And I feel like for my own self that I need to do a better job of delegating to my team. And I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I am not alone in this. So in today's episode, we are going to dive into the topic of effective delegation, and especially small business owners, because delegation is crucial, and it's a skill that we need to help us maximize our productivity, scale our businesses, and basically create more time for strategic activities. And those are things that as CEOs or founders, principals, those are the things that only we can do. They're not necessarily things that our team can do for us. So whether you have a small team or you work with remote contractors, whatever it is, mastering the art of delegation is essential. So let's get started. Understanding effective delegation. I really want to dive into what that is so that we're all operating from the same vantage point. Delegation itself is the process of assigning tasks and responsibilities to others, empowering them to contribute their skills and expertise to your business. As a small business owner, delegation allows you to focus on, again, those higher value activities that avoid becoming overwhelmed with routine tasks. But part of that definition I want to unpack is that it's not just the assigning tasks and responsibilities to others. It's also about empowering them to contribute their skills and expertise to your business. In many cases, I see where teams, people have VAs, other team members, and they think delegation is just, I want to get stuff off my plate, but it's not necessarily empowering their team members in the things that they get off their plate. So let's just keep going because I'm going to circle back to that. So one of the common challenges faced by small business owners like myself, and I'm assuming at least one other listener, is the reluctance to delegate. We feel that we can do it ourselves. It's quicker if I do it than me to hand this task over because I have to explain how it needs to be done and so forth, so on, etc. However, this mindset limits our growth and it hinders our ability to scale. Because you cannot scale if you are the one doing all the things. It's just not possible. You run out of human manpower. You also run out of hours in the day and mental space. So effective delegation not only frees up your time, but it also helps you develop your team members and fosters a sense of ownership. And that is truly key, is that fostering a sense of ownership. A lot of times people are looking for their team members that have kind of next level thinking and next level reasoning skills, but there's no real ownership. So they don't feel the need to have those skills in many cases because, again, we're just trying to dump them some things that we don't necessarily want to do and we want to get off our plates. So when it comes to effective delegation, the benefits are a lot. There's many of them. So obviously we're enhancing productivity because we're distributing our workload, we're improving our own time management, and we're also, or we should be, leveraging the strengths of our team members. So when we delegate tasks, we can focus on strategic planning, business development, building relationships with clients or customers. When we're doing too much, in many cases, marketing is suffering in our businesses. Because that's something in many instances that we are the ones who have to do, that nurturing and cultivating. That's something that we have to do as owners. And it's not something that our team can do as effectively as we can because that relationship building is important. So now that we're all on the same page about what delegation is, let's talk about some principles related to delegation. The first one is clearly defining task and expectations. So when you're delegating, it's just crucial to provide clear instructions as well as the desired outcome. So for example, instead of saying, please handle my social media, you could specify, I need you to create engaging social media posts for an upcoming product launch or an upcoming service offering. The target audience is small business owners who have small remote teams, and the post should highlight the key features and benefits of said product, service, whatever it is. You've not only told them like the task, but you're also telling them what your expectations are around it. The two need to go hand in hand. It's sometimes often we want the task, like, oh, I've delegated the task, but I've not told them what my expectations were. And then we're disappointed. We're frustrated. We're like, oh, why do I have these people? Because they're not doing the things that I want them to do the way that I want them to do them. Did you explain the way? That's your expectation. What does that look like? So being specific in that task and expectation, totally important. And the two go together like peanut butter and jelly. So the second principle is really identifying the right task to delegate. Not all tasks are suitable for delegation. I want to repeat that. Not all tasks are suitable for delegation. And I think that's something that's forgotten at times, that we start to think that we can just get everything off of our plates and I don't have to deal with this and this, and this. And in many instances, we're delegating the wrong things. And we could be delegating them to the wrong people on our team. Both are recipes for disaster. So when it comes to tasks, you want to determine the right task to delegate. When I've worked with clients, like we really do a task assessment, really looking at all the things that they are involved in. And trust me, this brain dump is massive, and really start to figure out where tasks are. For some people, I use monetary values, $10. I'm going to keep the math simple today. So like $10, $100, $1,000. When you think about tasks that you're doing in your business, if you were to take a piece of paper and make those three columns, $10, $100, $1,000, and you were to write out what task you're doing and where they fit in terms of impacting the bottom line of your business. Okay, so you posting your own social media. Well, for some of you, it's a $10 task. For others, it might be a $100 task. It's definitely not a $1,000 task. And you networking in order to drum up additional contacts, $1,000 tasks, right? It's not something that can be delegated. Let's see, something else. I could have come up with some other ones before I got on here, but you writing your own social media captions, like seriously? Probably not something you need to do. Is it something you could possibly edit that your team has started? Absolutely. So it's a $10 task. But in many instances, when the owners that I work with will find they spend a lot of time in $10 land, even quite a bit of time in $100 land, and very little time in $1,000 land. Strategic plans. Here we are at May or June. So we're coming up on the end of Q2. Where are you at with your goals? What does Q3 and Q4 look like? Has that been planned out? Totally a $1,000 task. However, you've spent so much time in $10 land and $100 land, you've not been able to focus on $1,000 tasks that are the ones that are more important for you as the owner. So really, you want to assess not only your strengths and weaknesses, but also assess your team's strengths and weaknesses and really identify tasks that align with your expertise. Don't get me wrong. If you're a phenomenal writer and it's probably easier for you to write out your social media captions, then that's a different story. Some people struggle with writing. So if you're struggling with writing, it's not a strength or weakness of yours. And now is not the time for us to say, I want to build up on my weaknesses and turn them into strengths. Now, dude, we're going to leave it as a weakness and keep it moving by focusing on our strengths. So understanding those tasks, understanding your own strengths and weaknesses and how that aligns with your expertise really helps you fill out those charts of $10, $100, $1,000. So tasks that are routine, they're time consuming, or can require specialized skills, those are things that you might want to delegate. For example, I'm currently in the process of having my website redesigned. I really did start, like I had copy done and I was like, I'm going to start doing, I'm going to redesign my website. Like I know Squarespace, I can do this. Oh my goodness. I literally sat down and started on the project and I was like, why am I doing this? Like literally asking myself, why am I doing this? Because the things I was hoping to see or wanting to change was going to require me to change the global settings and then this part of settings. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And I might screw it up and mess up something that then is going to need to be fixed. I was like, I really don't want to do this. And it took me a moment. I'll be honest. It took me a moment because I was just like, could I do this myself? And I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, only to really determine I can't do it. And the web designer that I'm working with, she's done coding and different things in Squarespace that I would never have thought to done. I would not have known how to do without like extensive tutorials, which again would have taken up way more of my time than I really had allotted for this particular project. So that was something I needed to delegate. And I chuckled because she's like, oh, we need this for your footer, this, that, and the other. I was like, oh, I got to go in Funnel Gorgeous. Oh, I got to do this. I was like, how can I delegate this part too? Because it's something else that I don't need to focus on and I will be the bottleneck in this project being completed if she sits and waits for me to go into Funnel Gorgeous to give her the thing that she needs. It's not going to be pretty, everybody. So think about your strengths and weaknesses. Think about what aligns with your expertise, and then start thinking about what can you get off your plate and who does it go to? Does it go to someone on your team? Do you have a VA or an ops assistant, someone who is capable of taking care of that? Or is it that you need to work with someone else? When it comes to Funnel Gorgeous, I work with this lovely lady, Claire. Claire is the most amazing. I can message her. She has access to my account. She does amazing things. Claire specializes in Funnel Gorgeous. I don't have to really think about Funnel Gorgeous. I think about what I want it to do, and I ask Claire if it's possible, and Claire helps me do those things. If not, just does them. So again, if something requires specialized skill, I don't have time to learn it. And that's why Claire is amazing. So when you think about things, think about administrative work, content creation, some customer support tasks. I send a weekly email to my clients about what does success look like for this week. I was like, you know what? Actually, my apps coordinator can send that message. Like, she knows all the clients. Like, it comes to me anyway. And so, hey, let's do that. And I got that off my plate. Seems like a small thing, but let me tell you, freed up mental space, which was truly delightful. So a third principle to consider is selecting the right team members for this delegation. Because remember, we're trying to figure out our own skills and strengths and weaknesses so that we can do things that align with our expertise. The same goes for your team. Consider their skills, their strengths, their availability, so that you can match tasks to their abilities and their interests, allowing them to grow and take ownership of work, which is truly important for those who want and are looking for a place to belong, a place to fit in, a place to feel connected. So when we allow them that opportunity by actually empowering them and encouraging ownership of tasks, things get done. And in many cases, if you're working with remote and independent contractors, they'll start to prioritize your stuff over their other clients. Because again, you're letting them operate in their zone of genius, and that lights them up. So it's really a win-win. So like if you have someone who's great with graphic design, delegate that. Delegate your marketing stuff to them. Stop trying to be the one in Canva doing all the things. Trust me, that's a lesson I learned. Even with branding and all the things like templates, all the things, just let it go. So again, thinking about those principles, you want to think about when it comes to effective delegation, what are your strengths and weaknesses and what aligns with your expertise? Also, though, like figuring out then what task you need to delegate. So really doing an assessment of how you spend your time. And I mean like all the things, not some of the things that you do, all the things that you do. And it might be that you track yourself for a 2-week period. Because honestly, there's some things that you might not do in week 1 that you do in week 2 of running your business. Some people have tracked themselves for a month. And because again, there might be some once a month duties or once a month tasks that pop up. So track yourself and really keep a list of everything that you do in your business, and then figure out $10, $100, $1,000. You can use whatever numbers you want. The key is understanding where you're spending your time and how those activities that you're spending your time on impact the bottom line. Okay, and then also you want to think through your team members' strengths and weaknesses as well. So, excuse me. So now that we have this foundation for delegation, let's just talk through some techniques. The first one, again, goes back to what we were talking about last week, which is communicating clearly and providing context. When delegating, ensure that your team members have like a clear understanding of the task requirements, its context within your overall business objectives. So if you can share that background information, they know what the desired outcome is. You're again empowering your team to make informed decisions, and therefore they can deliver better results. If you give them things in piecemeal, like, oh, design this, oh, do this, oh, do that, and it's like just different points, and they're not necessarily like connect the dots coming out to, you know, the penguin in the end of the picture. It's really important to give them the whole picture with all the dots, even if they're not completing all the dots, because again, they know the destination, and that is really important. The second one is to really empower and trust your team. I cannot say this enough. Delegation is not just about assigning tasks. It's really about giving your team members autonomy and ownership over their work. Don't get me wrong. There are some bad apples out there, but the vast majority of people want to do well. They want to do a good job. They're not trying to be shady and shisty. They are really take pride in their work. Allow that to bloom and flourish in your business. So trust that they have the skills and abilities to handle the delegated task. Like, dude, you hired them. If you didn't think they were qualified, why'd you do it? That's another question for another episode. So allow them to make decisions, provide support. Again, you want to see that they're doing these things. I'm not saying and they come in day 1 and you're like, hey, make all the decisions, design what you want. You've taught them, you've trained them, you've met with them, you've shared what it is that you like, you don't like, so forth, so on, etc. Let them start to flex that muscle. And lastly, you want to have feedback and accountability. Regularly check in with your team members. You want to monitor progress, provide constructive feedback, address any challenges they might be facing, you might be facing. Clear communication channels for them to ask you questions or seek clarification. So many times I see owners are frustrated. Well, they're coming back asking me questions. Dudes, you weren't clear in the beginning, so of course people have questions. It's natural to have questions. And I'd rather you ask the questions and not screw something up than not ask the questions and totally screw something up. So when you're starting to delegate, open your mind to receive questions. Because I can guarantee you, you will communicate and you're like, oh, Kiva, I was so clear. And you were not. There will be gaping Swiss cheese sized holes in what you communicated. And if you would take a moment, step outside of yourself, you would know that. And you would say, oh my gosh, I expected like a freaking miracle. And I didn't even give them, like, what's that? Rumpelstiltskin, like you're expecting gold out of like no straw. It can't be done. So you want to be able to set deadlines, expectations for deliverables, ensure accountability, and keep projects on track. If you have a team or you're working with anyone and you're not in a project management tool, we'll just pray for you. But seriously, you should be in a project management tool. I don't care if it's Trello, Asana, ClickUp, Monday, whatever you want to use, you need to be using something as my key point here, underline, exclamation point. You should be using something. And when you are using something, it's a clear deadline. This is due here. Expectations are laid out. My team will tell you I loom them to death, okay? Because I pay for Loom and I will loom out what I want done and what my expectations are. You have questions, pop them right on in there and click up. We go back and forth. We answer all the questions and I get what I want. And they've been like, okay, great. This is awesome. So clear communication. I don't care how you do it. You might be a voice message Slack person, whatever it is. You need a project management tool so that there's a clear deadline, clear expectations of when those things are due. And you have everyone is on the same page as to who's doing it and when it's due. So now, you've heard a lot of grumbling from Kiva today, but honestly, this is so important, and it's more important, I feel, especially working with remote teams when we're not able to have that face-to-face, like in-person communication. I don't want to just say face-to-face because some of us, obviously we can utilize Zoom and other Google Meets and things of that sort, but that face-to-face in-person conversation is different than face-to-face virtual. So improving our own communication skills as we are delegating is super important. So as we look for some takeaways, first one is clearly define your task and your expectations. When delegating, I want you to be specific about what needs to be done, the desired outcome, any guidelines, parameters, anything that needs to be known. Make it known. People do not read minds. They cannot assume that this is what you meant and assume this. They can assume, but they might make a wrong assumption. And we all know what happens then. So the clarity that you get from sharing all the details is important to help your team members understand their role and responsibilities and deliver you what the heck it is that you're looking for. Number 2, mask the task to your team member strengths. Consider their skills, their expertise, their interests. You might have people in your team who want to grow. How can you make that happen? There are ways, different tasks, different things. And I'm not saying you go in with your dump truck, give them all the things all at once. Ding, 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 wrong answer. You want to do this gradually and be intentional and purposeful about it. But again, if you're leveraging their strengths, they're going to give you better results. And most of the time, it's going to be faster. We can sit on things for a long time. And you heard that in the last episode. And our team members have the answers. They have the key to unlock us from our prison of sitting on things too long and being a bottleneck. We just don't communicate well. Number 3, foster open communication and provide support. Encourage your team members to ask you questions, to seek guidance, and get regular feedback. For those that have had kids, it's the same thing. It's like they come to you, Mommy, was this right? Yes, actually it was, and blah, 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 blah. The next time they're going to get to that part of the step, they're not going to come to you because they already know that part's right. They're going to move on. Same thing happens with your team. Oh, we got to this step. We know that we're on the right track. Then we're going to move on. Then we'll come to you. You want to have that regular feedback, open channels of communication for questions, for guidance. And when you foster this culture, basically, of open communication, and we've talked about culture, you're creating an environment where everyone feels comfortable and supported in their delegated tasks. When people do not feel supported, they leave. And I don't care if you have a remote team or you have employees, the cost of retraining, rehiring, all the things, you don't want to do this. You want to hire well, support the team members that you have. Let them know you are grateful, you are thankful, and you are working on being better, because all of us have an opportunity to do that. So as you take these takeaways in your delegation process, I really want you to find where that effective delegation transforms your business and allows you to focus on strategic activities, empowers your team members, and promotes overall growth and success. And I'll add one last thing. Again, it goes back to those expectations we were talking about recently. Set realistic ones. A person in your business today, by the end of 30 days, is probably not going to have created miracles. Why? Depending on your communication skills and the amount of information available in your business, they probably don't even have all the tools that they need to do what it is that you've asked them to do. straight talk from what I've seen. So your business might be different. And if so, kudos, confetti throws, all the things for you. That's not the majority. So be realistic with your expectations of what people can do. If you haven't been clear, you haven't been kind, and we talked about that as well. So don't look to them to create miracles when you haven't given them the tools to do so. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Collab with Kiva. I really hope that you found this insightful and actionable as you go forth to be an effective delegator. And I want to hear all about it. So please reach out. Keep me accountable too, because like I said, this is an area in which I struggle and I am doing better and I want to do even better. So thank you so much. I'm wishing you all the best as you seek to scale and thrive in your business and mastering the art of delegation. You can really unlock full potential for yourself as well as your team. I'll see you next episode. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Collab with Kiva. I'm wildly cheering you on as you go forth and execute data and operational efficiencies in your business. If you need additional support, connect with me via my website, the516collaborative.com. Your reviews on Apple are appreciated. See you next week.